Welcome to Back in the Box, your weekly dose of discussions and stories shared about how we felt we were kept in certain boxes in our lives by society and close family members who expected us to sit in a box and stay in it. In our podcast, we aim to lift the lid on all the times we try to break out of boxes.
I'm Em.
And I'm Z.
We are both British South Asian women and are lifting the lid on all of our personal experiences and doing so as two friends having a light-hearted conversation. And through healing, we're now in a position to be able to talk openly and vulnerably in the hope that you may also be able to resonate with our experiences.
Join us to lift the lid on that box.
So, today we're going to be discussing the next stage we both went through in life, and that was university for both of us, wasn't it, Z?
And in fact, the same university and same course, but a year apart. How mad was that?
How crazy is that? And we've stayed friends ever since.
Absolutely.
Okay, let's give some context on how we got to uni and why we wanted to go. Z, would you like to start? How did you get there?
Yeah, 100%. I think I probably need to backtrack quite a bit. Just a few kind of like life experiences that kind of made me think, oh my gosh, I really need to get out of this box. So for me, it kind of started, there were a few little nuggets that kind of came through. So I remember there was a couple of memories. So at school, I was really good friends with a girl, and remember at school I was told, like, you cannot speak to boys, you cannot be befriending a boy or doing any of that. I had a friend who, we kind of looked very similar, you know, we had exactly the same boundaries, but she was a rebel. She would go and sit in a taxi with these men, you know, who would just be looming around our school. Yeah.
Okay.
You know, thinking back at it, they were like groomers, you know, like scary, but it was quite normalised for these taxi men just to go parading around the school looking for girls. And she would go and sit in one of the taxis. Bearing in mind, her family owned a shop, and they were quite well known within the community. And I was just like, you are mad. There is no way I'm getting in any taxi. I'm not talking to any grey men. And even at the time, it felt wrong. Yeah. But she did. She got caught at 15, pulled out of school, and she got an arranged marriage.
Oh, my goodness.
Straight away.
Was she asked to marry somebody from back home?
It was arranged marriage. I think it was one of her cousins, to be fair. At the time, I remember both of us kind of looked at each other when we saw who she was marrying, and we were like, what the hell? So for me, I knew that was something that could easily happen to me in the sense that there could be an arranged marriage. We would actually have people come to the house in terms of like prospective you know, proposals, basically.
Suitors for you.
Suitors, that's probably the right word, absolutely. I would come out, you know, when you come out with a tray of like tea and goodies.
Paraded around.
And I was quite young at the time, like, you know, maybe 15 or 14, 15. And I just thought, whoa, like, this is the arranged marriage. And my mum wanted that fate for me. She wanted me to get married. Remember, I was the eldest girl. She wanted me to get married to a doctor, to a dentist, as you do, within the family, have a set life. And I just thought, I really don't want that, because there was no love. I didn't see any love in my parents' marriage openly. I didn't see any love in any of the community. So for me, I felt love was really important. And I didn't want to go into any marriage where I had to iron someone's clothes, get their dinner ready and everything to be structured. I thought, no way, I am never marrying.
Okay, so were you meant to be kept in that box? You said the other girl was 15. Was that the sort of expectation for you? As soon as you finished secondary school, that would be your life?
My dad wanted us to go to college, but I felt at 18 that would be my life.
That would be the end of your freedom.
That would be the end of freedom, That was me in an arranged marriage, having my whole life set in front of me.
Okay.
So that was quite scary for me. I also remember I was also the eldest girl, and I had 5 other siblings, only a year apart. But I was like more or less the second mum. So I would go to all their parents' evenings, you know, same teachers.
Yeah.
I was seeing the same teachers. But I would literally bring them up. So all the nurturing and love, I will be doing that. So as a which I'm sure a lot of girls did, a lot of, eldest girls did in the time. But, I wasn't allowed to go on any trips. I wasn't allowed to participate in any sports because I was the eldest girl. I wasn't allowed to do any of the stuff that my sister could do, who was only a year younger than me. Even then, I felt like I just didn't have a childhood.
Yeah. You just missed out, didn't you?
I was missing out. Yeah. I was missing out loads. And I knew that I just didn't know who I was as a child. Yeah. And that felt quite precious to me, that I was missing that out. Yeah. So I remember going to college, and I think it was second year, and I said to my dad, I said, if I get good grades, would you let me go to university? And he said yes. So I had to retake a year because my grades weren't brilliant the first time. I think I failed my business studies, to be fair. Yeah. So I retook that, took another A-level, and I got my grades. I did a reverse charge call to my dad. At the time, you could do a reverse charge call from the phone box. Yeah. Sort of thing. And full well with Asian men, if you get a reverse charge call, you know that there's some emergency happening. Yeah. Someone must have died.
This was an emergency.
This was an emergency. I remember him picking up the phone. I was like, hey, it's me. I got the grades. Can I go to university? And he was like, yes. I was like, oh my gosh.
Freedom!
Freedom! And honestly, that was me. That was my dad giving my life back. Wow. If I'm completely honest with you. So he gave me a second chance. That's how I would always view it. Forever grateful for that day when he said yes to me. And I ran. Yeah. I ran.
I bet. Yeah.
I ran to find out, okay, it was clearing. What university can I go to? That wasn't in London. That wasn't commutable.
As
that
far away as possible.
Absolutely, because I wanted to do journalism at the time. I was interested in doing journalism, but the only college or university that did it was somewhere in Wales, in Carlisle. And I was like, Wales? I thought, where the hell is that? I thought, no way am I going to Wales. So Birmingham was the place for me. Yeah. That was because we had cousins there, and I knew it was a safe place where my dad would allow me to go that far.
Right,
because he knew he had contacts there.
Yeah, so he could still sort of, keep an eye on you.
Yeah. I kind of sort of, if I got hungry, could go somewhere to eat.
I love that. So my experience was sort of similar, because my mum was actually my champion, really, and she's come from an educational background herself and really wanted us to have education. And it was very, very important from her from the start. And her quote used to be, people can take everything else away from you, but the one thing that they can't take away from you is your knowledge and your education. Wow. So that was something that she really was passionate about. And my gosh, there was just no doubt in her mind that if they can, my children are going to go to university.
Yeah, you know what? I think my dad conveyed exactly the same thing. He would always drill into us, education is key. Yeah. Education is key. That's all he would say. Yeah. Education is key. So it's wonderful how your mother was actually saying that, to be honest with you. Yeah. Because that's so much more powerful coming from a mother.
Yeah, and I guess, both of us had one parent that allowed us to get that little cage open so we could escape, and it did feel like that. But what I was really worried about was, would my dad agree? Because he was the one that really controlled the narrative in terms of, you can't do this, you can't do that, you're not allowed to go anywhere, you're not allowed to do certain things within the house. So, and he actually agreed. So he listened to my mum, and we were like, oh my goodness, it's within reaching distance going to university. And then my parents obviously met with aunties and uncles, real ones and not real ones, as we all know. And one of the things I noticed was where some of the other aunties, their children were not allowed to go. They were being controlled. They were trying to get into his head and stir the pot and say, boys are okay to go, but do you want your girls to go? So they were really trying to stir the pot. And luckily, my mum was so fixed on it that it was not going to budge. So my only way of doing it was to really make sure that I had my grades. My grades were going to be my passport out of that home where I couldn't be myself. I felt caged, felt unhappy having my wings clipped. And, you know, I didn't feel like I was able to flourish. So as soon as I got my grades, I was like, woohoo, this is it. This is my part of freedom.
And fly you did.
Oh, yes, we did. Yeah.
Okay, so what was your first impression of uni life then? So when you got there, you know, what did you think?
Well, for the first time, like I said in the previous episode, I came from a very predominantly white town, predominantly white education system, and this was the first time I'd seen so many British South Asians of my age in one place. I mean, like, wow. I actually thought in my head, oh my gosh, Asian invasion is what the word was that came to mind. Because I've never seen so many different people of different colours. It'd always been mostly white people around me. Initially, what I noticed was, oh, there's little groups. Then I remember being in the cafe area, and we'd started our course. This was quite early on, really. And I noticed there were groups of Punjabis, group of Muslims, group of Gujaratis. And I thought, oh, that's really odd. You're all the same colour. Why isn't everybody mixing? That was really odd to me. And the other thing I thought is whether they've come to university because they're trying to break out of their own boxes from home and escape like I was. I was always part of all the groups. I lived with Gujarati girls and Muslim girls, and I also had a friend who'd come from back home who was white. I was very much part of the hockey and rugby groups. I loved my drinking games, learnt a lot of drinking games, and I loved having a huge range of people to learn from them and mingle with. So it was really, really great for me.
I mean, for me, I think it was the first time I was exposed to ABBA. Like Dancing Queen. Like as soon as I went into my door, all I could hear was like Dancing Queen. I was like, what the hell is that? Like I had never heard this music before. You know, I was listening to like Missy Elliott, Janet Jackson at the time. It was completely new to me. It was really funny.
For me, it was the first time I was exposed to so much Punjabi music and current up-to-date Indian music, soul music. I didn't even know any of the names of artists or bands. Because what I was exposed to by my peer group from back home was English music. Or my mum and dad playing old Hindi music from the 50s and 60s, you know, from their era. Okay. Most current music I knew was from watching those Hindi films. Do you remember that used to come on Channel 4 with Amitabh Bachchan in?
Oh my gosh, that is a name from the past. Amitabh Bachchan. He was like a movie legend.
He was like a god in actors, wasn't he? Yeah.
He was
my
gosh. The only actor I remember. He could come in every single movie.
Yeah, exactly. Those were the only songs that I knew about. So this was like great new exposure for me.
Yeah, I think for me, I didn't really notice the distinction in groups. You know, you sort of mentioned there'd be like groups of Punjabis, groups of Gujarati. I didn't really notice that, if I'm completely honest with you. I was probably just surprised there were like so many people from different socioeconomic backgrounds. Yeah. So geographically dispersed, which to me was quite exciting. So I didn't know anyone that came from up north or heard that Yorkshire accent or anything. I was like, what? I've never heard of this accent. So for me, it was music to my ears, and it was an explosion to my ears, thinking, oh my God, I've never kind of like heard any of these accents before. Particularly, Mancunian. Again, I kind of gravitated to Asian groups.
I know I came from the south, but actually a lot of the Asians came from London and the East End of London, and so they're all into in it. Whereas I'd never heard of this phrase, in it.
I think people still say that.
Oh, okay.
I don't think there was that many Asians. I thought it was like there was a few Asians. There was quite a lot of English people. For me, anyway, it's for what I saw in my lens.
That's interesting because obviously you'd come from a town which had probably more Asians, so therefore it didn't seem so alien to you and quite possibly what you were expecting. Whereas for me, having no really Asians around at all to having Asians around, it was like, oh my goodness, yeah.
Well, you were definitely the only Asian in the village, as it were.
That's what it was.
So no, I gravitated to like Asian groups. There was a traditional girl called Sid. Do you remember Sid?
I do.
I think the reason why I kind of became friends with her, because she kind of represented everything that my mother would have loved. You know, my mother would have loved me to still be this traditional girl, to have my hair in a plait and still be quite naive. So I kind of hung on to her. You know, she was nice, she was lovely, but I think, again, just to hold on to my safety, to remind me of my family.
Familiarity, wasn't it?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. 100%. It opened my eyes, the fact that my best friend at the time for like quite a number of years was an Indian guy. So, you know, and he was sarcastic. He had the same sense of humour, in terms of very dry sense of humour that we would actually have. We were on the same course and we just clicked and we became platonic friends for years, you know, throughout our uni years. Yeah. And I love that.
Yeah. Whereas I think initially I had no idea how different my thinking and ways of being were from other South Asians. When I was talking to them and I'd be talking about certain things, and I then got labelled a coconut. And I was like, what the hell is a coconut? What do you mean? I don't understand this. And
it's surprising. I didn't really know that you were actually called a coconut. Yeah. I was so surprised. Like, even like I know it was the term, I'm familiar with the term, but I didn't realise people did that at uni.
Yeah. So, like I've said, you know, I faced racism when I was at secondary school, being called the P word. And then all of a sudden I'm coming to university. Oh, there's like brown people here. Great. I'm a brown person. Great. Okay. But no. Again, labelled as a coconut. Brown on the outside, white on the inside. They had to explain that to me because I didn't even know what a coconut, what they meant.
Excuse me, all that abuse you're giving me, can you just give me some context, please?
Exactly. Yeah. Not sure why you're saying that. Yeah. It might have an effect if you actually explain what you mean, because I had no clue. I'm clueless. Right, so I wasn't really accepted by quite a few Indian girls and guys who were Indians. I hung around with a lot of white people, and I also hung around with lots of Asian people in the crowd, because to me, I just wanted to know everyone, you know, and get to feel what was right for me and who I wanted to hang out with. And as we all did, after first being at university, you sort of hang out with loads of people and then you find your people, don't you? Those people that accept you for who you are. And they were the ones that were non-judgmental. They were on my course. They were mostly a lot of guys that I hung around with, because I just found a lot of the girls were really bitchy. So I was like, no, I don't want to have any of that. I'm just going to have girlfriends that are non-judgmental and just accepting of who I am, and I'm accepting of who they are. One of those was Yuzi.
Oh, so sweet.
I know.
But I think that's probably why. Yeah, sorry, I was going to say that's probably why I hung around with the guy that I hung around with, just because it was just, you know, because I don't know, back at the time and probably even now, like boys, men, they don't hold a grudge. Like, they just, everything goes above their head and they're like, whatever, next day, a new day, and that's it. They just carry on.
Yeah, I just felt really accepted. Whereas the Asian girls, even then, I felt like they were so judgmental, because I had male friends. Because actually, how can you have male friends? That's one of the comments, wasn't it? They can't just be your friends. And got a lot of slut shaming, in a way, for hanging around with guys, and that you must be a certain type of girl for having guy friends. But I stuck to my values and who I was at the core and what felt right for me and made me happy. And I didn't mind being on the outside, out of the clique, because it was so less complicated for me and less of a headache, like you were saying, Z.
Yeah, no, absolutely. You know, yeah, you know, I think Asian girls were judgmental towards me. But I don't know whether I was naive, in the sense that I just didn't care. Yeah. You know, it didn't absorb it. It just washed over, and I was like, oh, whatever, sort of thing. And I'll just carry on being with them anyway. And I think maybe it's a sense of belonging that I still wanted. Like, I still belonged within a group. So for me, I just didn't take it in or kind of recognise it. And I think because I dressed so uniquely in a way.
You did. Loved your dress sense. Yeah, still do.
I used to make my own clothes just for contests, out of curtains, out of blankets. I was just doing my own thing. So I didn't fit the norm anyway. So I didn't look like anyone. I didn't dress like everyone. And, you know, that was purposely done because I didn't feel right. I didn't want to, like, follow the norm. Yeah. You know, I didn't want to, like, dress like everybody else. Like, to me, it was just like, no, I don't want to do that because that's just not me. So I think I didn't mind the judgments. I didn't care. You know, so, you know, for me, it was just like, can I just be your friend? Can I just be part of this group, you know? You know, I don't think I got called names, but I did have, like, typical girl envy. You know, that was definitely a case. Right. You know, I definitely got girls that were, you know, and particularly when I moved in with, like, you know, you get your second year and you move in with a group of girls. They were bitchy girls. There were some really bitchy girls. But again, it was just like, whatever, I don't care. Yeah. You know, you can say what you want. I didn't let the haters get to me, even though I knew they were haters, but I'd still be their friend. I don't know what that says about me. Yeah. Isn't it?
Yeah. There were lots of people that were like that. And I decided, actually, you're just not my people. So I'm not going to give you the time and energy. And I'm going to just be with the people that I like, who I have fun with. Again, the way I dressed was very different as well from other girls. You know, I had those tassely skirts, Doc Martens, a bit of gothy, grungy look, and not really how other Asians dressed. And
that's so true.
That was me. I was an individual. I'm going to be and express myself how I want to. And I was judged for drinking, and boy, did I have a few benders with that. And I know. And then just for not being Indian enough, not talking or thinking in an Indian, Punjabi enough way, and just microaggressive comments to suggest that, do you know what, you're not Indian, you're not an authentic Indian. So I just didn't hang around with those type of people. Why would I want to, is what I was thinking. You're definitely not my person, just not going to have you in my life. So I found my people. And as we do, it was just a really lovely experience for me when I hung out with Asian guys. And we had such a good laugh because there was no judgments being made. Like you were saying, it was just about having fun. I hung out with my white friends, loving their drinking games, socialising, dancing.
Yeah, and I think I kind of sort of did the same. You know how you find new friends? You go on a journey. First year, it's just about fitting in, if I'm completely honest with you. And it's the same with the second year. And then you kind of like sort of think, maybe there's some other people out there. And I kind of sort of noticed probably the kind of like being an outsider when I started befriending a white girl. Sam was her name, and she loved hip hop. You know, she loved her R&B, she loved her blues. And she was the one that introduced me to a completely new world outside uni walls, to be honest with you. So these local clubs, and we would go to house parties that had no connection with university.
Yeah.
I know.
Very different world.
It was a completely different world, but it felt like home. I absolutely loved it. It was a completely different contrast to what I was used to. But for some reason, it energised me. And I was like, oh, my God, I love this. You know, it was the music I was kind of used to listening, but it was just different people that I've never been exposed to, a different culture, a different way of being. And it just suited me to the ground.
It sounds like it was very much a home and comfort for you.
That I never knew was there, you know?
Yeah, interesting.
100%. Yeah. And that's when I noticed when the Asians started saying, oh, like, hello, how can you go out with them and not be with us? It's like, man, like, you guys are, like, a bit too much. So, you know, they want to, like, control everything. Again, it comes back to that controlling. You do everything with us. You go with us. You follow our circle. You cannot leave the circle. And I was like, I need to get out. You need to breathe.
Oh, my gosh. Putting you back in a box, really. Or trying to put you back in a box with their comments and actions around it. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that was the first time meeting with Sam and going out that I kind of sort of realised that there's a bigger world out there. Yeah. You know, there's more than just one culture. There's more than one way of being. And I absolutely love that. I mean, what was it like going back home from your time at uni?
For me, it was like being back in the box, really. As soon as I got home, Yeah, wasn't allowed to go anywhere. Had to account for every minute of my day. Stay at home, listen and follow instructions. I am a robot type thing, you know. Doing what I was being told to do. I remember at one point on my placement year, I was having to travel from home to go to work, and I'd finished my placement year and they'd organised a leaving do for me. And saying to my dad, right, I'm going to be driving back because it was a bit later in the evening and I'll be out till late. And I was thinking, I wonder what he's going to say. And he's like, no, you can't go. He point blank said, I said, but Dad, that's my leaving do. They've arranged it for me. And he was like, no, you're not going. And I said, and then I just said to him, because I was just fed up with it. I just said, I'm going to go. You can't stop me. And he said to my mum, Teri kudi ne minnu kiha, I will go. Your daughter said to me, I will go. And I said, yeah, I will. And he was like having a go at me.
Was that not a scary moment for you to stand up to your dad like that and say that? Because I know in Asian culture, I don't know about you, like you couldn't really adamantly sort of say, look, I'm going, that's it.
You know, Z, like I've already said in our previous episode as well, I was quite out there and just said what I wanted to. So for me, it wasn't anything out of character that I was doing with my dad, because I always was the black sheep of the family and the one that was really vocal and did things like that. But what I was scared about is he going to actually lock me out of the house? Am I going to be able to get in? And after I've been out, is he going to let me in? You know, and he was like, "Tu kaun apne aap ko samajh nahi hai? Who do you think you are? Minnu kendi I will," and telling me that I will. But I went, and Mum must have said something, I don't know. But I got home, dreaded putting the key in the lock. You know, is the front door going to open? And it was unlocked, and my mum was there.
Nice.
But I know that he didn't talk to me for quite a while after that.
That must have been quite peaceful, to be fair.
Yeah, but I think what was also worrying me was that I knew that my mum was going to get such an earful for what I was doing. But I tried to spend as much time at university and only came home really in the holidays if I had to, because that was my freedom. That was me being out of my box, not in that cage, having my wings free. And I wasn't giving that up for anything. You know, interesting, my dad never asked me about what I was doing at university. So, yeah, I used to go clubbing, drinking, hanging out with my mates. Another time I remember going home and one of my guy friends phoned me at home, and oh my gosh, my face was all hot, you know, like when your hands like shaking while you hold. And they were the old phones that they weren't mobile phones, they were like fixed in one place in the room. And I'm holding the phone and it's shaking, and I'm holding it to my ear. My face is going all hot and sweaty. And my dad, because he heard that it was a male voice, came and stood right next to me. He was eyeballing me and listening to my conversation. I mean, I nearly wet my pants. You know, I was so scared what was going to happen. And then afterwards, it was like, Teri kudi no munde kolo phone call hoya. So a boy has called your daughter. Obviously, I'm only his daughter when I'm doing something bad.
Yeah, of course.
But yeah, it was just one of the most scariest times. You know, just even getting a call from a guy was like, oh my gosh, I think I'm going to die.
Oh my gosh, yeah, I would have been dead, to be honest with you. Yeah. I think my experience of going home was probably a complete contrast, to be fair. I sort of felt, for me, it was quite normal because I would go home every 2 weeks. You know, it was complete contrast to what you were saying. So, you know, it was quite safe. I'd go home every 2 weeks. So my dad would pick me up and he would drop me off. I got my washing done. My mum prepared a lot of food for me. I would take everything but the kitchen sink, if I'm completely honest with you. Like, my parents are quite generous to me in that regards. I don't recall anything to be that different. I mean, but like I said, we had cousins that lived in Birmingham. So whenever I got hungry, like he was a bus driver, like he would have his route round around the uni grounds,
Oh, you're like, take me back. Give me some food.
Yeah, 100%. I'm like, I'm really hungry.
I'll have a doggy bag.
And they would literally pick me up from, in the bus, like, and he would like take me to his house, and their family were like really hospitable towards me. And I think it was because my dad was quite well respected in the community. So, they all kind of respected my dad, and they showed a lot of love to me. So,
That's
for
lovely.
me, it wasn't anything that I could say was any different. It was just a safe environment for me, and I got fed loads. I took a lot of food home, got my washing done, literally,
Nice.
my kids do that to me now,
Yeah.
So what goes around comes around.
Of course. Yeah.
But you were talking about the boy thing, and sort of thing, so,
And that brings us on to love, doesn't it?
It does.
Yeah.
It does.
Tell me about, did you find love while you were at university?
You know what? You can't predict love, and it always happens when you least expect it. So, and I was adamant when I went off to uni, and when I was at uni, I was adamant, like, I'm going to marry a Muslim, there's going to be no compromise, I'm a traditional, despite the fact that I was wearing quite modern Western clothes, but I was true to my roots. I'm staying true to my roots.
Yeah.
Nah, that did not happen.
I'm not surprised.
That kind of went right out the window. When I met my husband, who is like my husband now, like I said, when we were going to the clubs, it felt like home. There was certain music, and you couldn't dance like a student. Like I used to dance, hands in the air, bow down, move every part. You dance like a crazy woman. Like you go there, like, no, you dance slow.
Oh,
right.
Okay.
No hands in the air. No singing, no miming.
Oh my goodness! How did you cope?
It was like slow.
Oh.
There was a strict code,
Okay.
Anyway, so I remember my husband going back, because people make out he was going to the bar. You weren't going to the bar. And
you clocked him. You clocked him.
I clocked him. And his pickup line was, when he had the courage to come up, it was like, do I look Pakistani? I was like, no. I was thinking, I have never seen anyone with like beautiful brown eyes like that, and the biggest lips, like the most perfect lips I'd ever seen. I thought, there is no Pakistani on earth that I know that looks like that. So that was it. It was, for me anyway, it was love at first sight, and boy did I fall. I fell.
How beautiful. That is amazing.
Nice. It was like, whoa.
Very special.
Tell me, what was love for you?
Well, I formed a really great friendship. I mean, this guy was my best friend. We hung around together like 24/7. We were on the same course. We had mutual friends, guys who were friends as well. Yeah.
Oh my God, hold on. I need to get comfy, right? I need to adjust my seat. All right, this sounds like a good story. Go on. Yeah. All right, I'm ready now. Go.
Okay, so he asked me out several times, and even though I really liked him, sometimes I didn't realise that I liked him. Looking back, I was quite fearful, but because we had such a good connection, I was just afraid to develop feelings and get hurt at the time. And I knew that my dad would absolutely kill me and disown me. And I think the worst thing for me was thinking that I'm going to be ostracised from the rest of my family, because the expectation was definitely to get an arranged marriage. As soon as you finish university, you're 21, you're going to get married, out of uni, into marriage. And being the eldest, there was a pressure of the impact. This is how I was thinking, wanting to make it better, thinking about my siblings and thinking about them before myself, and a bit of people pleasing as well, Eldest, like you said, having that pressure for my younger siblings and thinking about, if I do something out of the box, is that going to put more constraints on them? It was a real fear that I was not going to have my family around me, that literally my dad would ostracise me, because I'd heard of other people doing it in the Indian society and the people that my dad knew as well. And this really led to me making decisions that led to huge life-changing impact on me. We saw each other for some time. It was beautiful, fun, loving. Like that soul connection when you know what each other are thinking about without having to say anything. And we just got each other. We supported each other fully through good and bad times. and really, you know, were our complete, true, authentic selves. Because we started off as friends, best friends. So a really great relationship developed after that. And obviously more intense when you're at university and being on the same course. Because we were 24/7, it felt like a lot longer that we'd been together than we really had. Because you're living in a bubble, aren't you? But he was from a different religion. And that definitely was not allowed. My dad used to talk so badly of so-and-so's daughter and son are married out of religion. Even the casting was a big thing for him and other people back then. So we both had that. And nothing was about the happiness of children, was it, at the time? But it was more that you've got to stick to the rules created by the family and the Indian society. What will people say? ਬੰਦਿਆਂ ਨੇ ਕੀ ਕਹਿਣਾ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਅਸੀਂ ਆਪਣਾ ਮੂੰਹ ਨਹੀਂ ਦਿਖਾ ਸਕਦੇ ਹੈਗੇ ਫਿਰ. You know, what are people going to say? We'll never be able to show our face again, that I would bring shame to the family. That was my fear. And that this was the line that could not be crossed because he was a different religion. It was a huge thing about what people would say. And to actually be in that same box was really important for my parents and possibly other people coming over from India, and there was a huge judgment passed on people who left that box, the slurring of the family name. And again, in a way, though those microaggressions and comments were trying to keep that conformity of the box. There's a great quote by Eleanor Roosevelt who says, "Great minds discuss ideas, average minds discuss events, and small minds discuss people."
Oh my God, that is so good. That is so good. I think you probably need to say that again. But let's just say it a bit slower. Okay. Because I think people really need to digest this properly because it resonates so well and I think it's articulated in such a good way.
Yeah, definitely. So great minds discuss ideas, average minds discuss events, and small minds discuss people. So a lot of things like that were happening in Indian society at the time, you know, that discussing of people. And yeah, although we were extremely compatible and there was nothing wrong with our relationship, we both were so scared of going against the box of love and marriage set up by our families. So sadly, yeah, with broken hearts we parted and we didn't end up together after university.
Oh, that sounds so sad. It makes me really sad. You know, it's just all about perception, isn't it? It's just ridiculous. This whole shame thing. It's just mad.
Yeah, and I guess I could have taken that step. You know, I was saying things to my dad when I was at home and definitely stood up for myself. But because of the impact that it might have had on my siblings, my mum, and that fear of being ostracised, I just couldn't do it at the time, and nor could he. But I must say, overall, university turned out to be one of the most liberating times for me to learn who I really was and to be my complete self without any of those boxes that were constraining me. It was one of the happiest times of my life. I found true love, no extra responsibilities at the time. No, not like now. And loads of great times with my friends, all studying, chilling and having fun together and learning who I was without any boxes around me. And, you know, I made lifelong friends who are still my friends today. We may not see each other all the time because we're all busy with our own lives. But when we do, it's like no time has passed and we reconnect. And that's rare and special, isn't it?
Yeah, and for me and you, basically, that's how we've been. You know, we've been in each other's lives since uni, to be honest with you, haven't we?
Yeah.
So, okay, so let's kind of take a bit of stock. Let's round this up, basically. So we're just going to ask each other the same questions that we've been asking after each episode, where we take some reflections. Okay. So this is where we take a deep breath.
Yep.
Ooh. Okay, so are we ready? Yeah, are you ready? So question is, what advice would you give to your younger self at this age?
I would say to my younger self, life is for living, and the judgments of others, let them judge. They're not living our lives or walking in our shoes 24/7. We are the ones who face success, but we also face adversity on our own. And it might be with the support of others, but we have to make the choices and have the strength to stand strong in our convictions and remain authentic to who we are. and that our authenticity is based on our values and our purpose. And we've got to be bold and courageous to make our own choices and find people, those people who are our people, and they align with our values and love us authentically, just like we love them. And they bring us joy, and they're there through the challenging times. And not everybody is going to be our cup of tea. The other thing is fear can debilitate us and, yes, change the course of our whole lives. So don't let it stop you. Take a deep breath and dive in. Another quote by George Adair: everything you ever wanted is on the other side of fear. And what about...
I love that. Yeah, I love that.
And Z, what about for you? What message would you say to your younger self?
Yeah, for me, I think it's quite a pivotal moment, uni years. And I feel in life. So for me, it's quite a grave and serious one, because I don't think I realised the enormity of this period of my life. Culture and upbringing is kind of ingrained in your DNA. It was ingrained in my DNA. But, I knew it just did not define me, and it shouldn't define you. So if you feel you have to question your culture and your tradition, which can be quite hard, and this is the whole reason I wanted to go to university, was not to question my culture. That came as a byproduct. I wanted to find out who I was. But it allowed me then to question, who I was, which meant my culture, which meant my tradition, okay? So I would say explore what you're feeling and be surprised by what you learn. Sometimes, it will be a hard decision to find the strength that you need to constantly challenge what has been asked of you and what has been told to you. Not everything's as black and white. You've got to listen to yourself. This is life, and this is your life.
Wow. Yeah, that's a really, really strong message that we need to think about. We only have one life, don't we? We've got to really think about what the decisions we make.
Yeah, and when you're young and, in your 20s, you think you're going to live forever. But that's the advice I would give to anyone who's in this period of their life. It's just really listen to yourself.
Thank you. Okay, thanks for listening today. We would love it if you could click the subscribe button and add your comments and share us with as many people as you feel would enjoy our discussions and stories.
We would so love to hear your stories. So email us anonymously or with your first name. Any stories about being in the box or getting out that box. Our email is in the link below.
Can't wait for you to join us next time, where we'll be discussing love and marriage, going to the chapel to What happened? Were there more boxes? Join us to find out.
Oh my gosh, I can't wait for the next episode.
See you all next time.